Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Series 5, Episode 2, The Beast Below, the second episode of the 11th Doctor's era and of Series 5, so, aka Season 31. I forgot to say that in the last review. This is also Season 31 overall, which means we're on to the 31st season of Doctor Who. Woo! So at the end, it'll be 31 out of 38, as 39 is going to be quite a long way off. The Beast Below. This episode, it's a bit of a mixed bag, actually. I enjoyed it whilst watching it, but there are points afterwards that you do think about, especially after you check out some reviews to get some reasonings and get some points, and you start thinking, yeah, that's something they didn't think about with the episode. So, yeah, so on reflection, this episode is pretty great when watching it, but it's afterwards, or certainly for me anyway, it doesn't quite work when you think about it. Well, again, certainly for me. So, this episode has a really good premise of, around the same time as the Ark in Space, probably, Earth is being attacked by solar flares. So, every country in the world moves to the stars, more or less, a la the Ark in Space. In this case, the UK has got, well, apart from Scotland, because they voted for their own ship, as Amy says, nothing changes, no offence. But the rest of the UK go in their spaceship and travel across the stars. However, their spaceship hasn't actually got any engines. The engines are all dummies. And there's supposedly a big secret about what's hidden below the spaceship that no one's supposed to talk about. However, and this is a point when you think about it, if they forget about what they learn, why are they all scared about it? So really, the citizens shouldn't really know anything, and the ones who, if they choose to forget, those who don't, who choose to protest, well, we'll get to that later. So, the very start of this episode has a boy called Timmy being given a 0, probably due to not doing very well in school. Surprisingly, the school classroom at the very back looks like it's in a dining room, so maybe they have their lunch in their classrooms as well. And so he has to walk to London. However, when he chooses to go into a ventile, which is an escalator, then when he tries to dodge the system, so to speak, the system pretty much decides to send him down below, which ultimately causes his friend Mandy to get upset that he is probably gone forever because he's made this bad decision. The Doctor and Amy then turn up on the spaceship and start realizing things aren't going well. As they see an upset Mandy, and they realize the spaceship can't be moving because they would feel the engine vibes, and it's not affecting the water. So the Doctor and Amy decide to investigate. Amy follows Mandy and finds a hole in the roll, which is something's come up into the middle, and the Doctor goes to investigate the engine rooms. All this time, they're being followed by these hooded humans known as Winders. And here's another point. They report to their leader, Hawthorne, who then reports to someone else. And this someone else is a character called Liz 10, who is investigating what's happening on Starship UK. And there's some reveals at the end about this, but I'm going to put it here now. This character should not know what's going on at this point in the story. She should not know where Hawthorne is, that he's reporting to her. She should not know about this. And yet, at this point, it seems like she's involved, and then later on, she's forgotten all about this and investigating. So, yeah, and also it takes her 10 years, more or less, every now and again to get to the same spot. Anyway, so the Doctor, so Amy gets captured by the Winders and put into the voting booth, where she then learns the truth about Starship UK, and then the Doctor comes in, they have a bit of a discussion, and then they do the protest, and then ultimately we find out what happens to those who protest. They get sent down, below, and they discover that they are sent into the belly of a giant creature, which is the thing that has these things sticking out into the rest of the ship. And so, that is another thing. This creature has its mouth. There is into open space. So the Doctor and Amy should have been regurgitated into outer space when the Doctor presses the eject button, so to speak. So instead of they projected into a pipe, they should have been projected into space, but they projected into a pipe. Liz 10 then turns up and reveals herself to be Queen Elizabeth X, the Queen of the nation, and they and Mandy eventually find out that it's this guy Hawthorne behind everything, and that the truth is then revealed that the UK built a ship around a star whale which came to help them. However, they don't realise that the star whale came willingly. That's something that Amy works out later. But the truth is apparently that the UK built their ship around a star whale and started torturing it so it could move them across space. And they'd keep the information hidden. They'd make everyone forget about it, and anyone who protested would be sent down below, as well as less desired people, like those who get 0 in school and would be sent below if they rode the Ventors. Although the star whale does not eat children, only the adults. And the Doctor and Amy are the only ones it spared. Well, because the Doctor hit the ejector button. And the reason the star whale doesn't eat the children is because it couldn't stand to hear children crying, so it obviously saves them. And yeah, that's how Amy works out the star whale came willingly, because it could stand to hear the children crying and came to rescue the people. But she has to. But before she works this out, the Doctor realizes he has no choice but to. Well, he's only got three choices now. He either lets the star whale carry on being tortured by the humans, he has the ship blown up as part of, which is the option of Liz 10's option is either to forget about everything or to abdicate, which would then destroy the ship. And the third option is to basically turn the star whale into a cabbage where it feel no pain or emotion, but it would be more or less dead. So yeah, the Doctor has a really difficult decision. However, Amy, like I said, realizes that the star whale would still carry on taking Starship UK across the sea, and that is a thing that they say that the abdicate button would cause the ship to disintegrate and the star whale be set free. But what actually happens is that there's a couple bits of explosions, but the star whale is then stops being tortured, and it just carries on with the Starship UK on its back, flying across the sky. So yeah, I think a lot of it could have been saved by just realizing that, oh, hang on, this is an option. Well, let's do this. But it does show Amy's ingenuity as a character, so I will give it that. So, on the whole, The Beast Below, it's okay. I don't think it's a particularly strong episode. Matt Smith is fantastic in the role, and he does a great performance when he gets really angry. This is probably the first time the 11th Doctor gets angry, and Matt Smith gets to get his chops into that part of the role, and the Doctor is where he gets to show off the 11th Doctor's angry side a bit, and we get to see the first instance of the 11th Doctor getting angry. And I think Matt Smith does a fantastic job. However, he's also really great earlier on in the episode. He's just absolutely great. I also have to say, I think, as Matt Smith is considered one of the more sillier, fun Doctors, like alongside David Tennant and Jodie Whittaker, and maybe Tom Baker as well. At this point, he's not getting too silly. He's not getting too wibbly wobbly timey-wimey just yet. He's actually just he's a bit normal, really. Well, young, a little bit more fun, but still not getting too silly just yet, which actually works really well. Actually, I think I really love early Matt Smith. I think the actor does a fantastic job, and the characters are written really well. Karen Gillan again also is brilliant as Amy Pond, although the story is kind of all over the place with her. But I do like how it's her that realizes that the star whale did come willingly, and if you press the application button, things are going to be fine. A little bit of a rocky startup, but still things are going to be fine. So I do like how it's Amy who saves the day in the end, and yeah, I think Karen Gillan does a great job. There aren't a huge amount of supporting cast that are worth noting, apart from Mandy, who is a pretty good child actress, and her character is pretty good. I would also say the same for Timmy when he's on screen, but he doesn't have an awful lot, so it's not really worth mentioning. But I'll say he does better than some who get more important roles in later stories. Sophie Oquendo does a good job as Liz 10, but her character again is a bit all over the place, as is Hawthorne, whose actor I don't remember, but he does good. Um, the Winders, I don't really get the point of them being half Smiler. What they could have just been hooded figures, a bit like the police system. And the Smilers, they're all right, but I don't see the point of them getting out their booths. I mean, they were pretty creepy and intimidating when they were there. In fact, what was the point of the Smilers? They had to smile when they were happy, and then had to turn around when they were annoyed, and then there was the crossface. By the way, if you got the two-headed version of one, how could you get the third one? Where does that come from? Did they just swap masks at some point when they feel like it? And are they like cameras or something? What are the point of the Smilers? Do they actually say? And the Winders, you could say they're like the police, but what are the Smilers supposed to do? And what's their point when they get up and walk? What are they going to do to the Doctor and Amy? Are they going to strangle him or something? I think this episode could have been explained a little bit better in terms of some parts. They explain stuff like the engine and Star Whale and everything, but some stuff just doesn't quite match up. And how could Liz not know that her mask was 200 to 300 years old? I mean, fair enough, she doesn't know that she's nearly 300 and that they've stowed her body clock a lot. But how could she not realise that the mask is quite old? Overall, I think the story is okay. I think it could have had some improvements there. The direction and the cinematography and editing, once again, is pretty great, although not as good as The 11th Hour. Andrew Smith does not direct this one. He's only directing 3 episodes this series: The 11th Hour, The Time of Angels, and Flesh and Stone. However, that does mean a couple of other directors are able to put their own stamp on the series with their episodes. I think that whoever does this one does a good job. With that one. To be honest, I don't really have much of a problem with the direction and editing of most of Doctor Who at this point. I mean, like I said, there are a few editing issues with some stories in later series, and also some of the past ones as well. I mean, looking at you, quick, zoomy pans from series 3 and early series 4. But I think The Beast Below is a great looking episode and handled really well. So on a production side, it works really well and it looks really great execution wise. And it may have been a story that would have fitted better on paper, but the story isn't executed too well on a plot basis. On a production basis, yes, but not on a plot. Overall, I don't think The Beast Below is a spectacular story. I think it's fine. I don't think it's going to be lighting any heads, but I don't think it's the worst thing ever made. I think it's fine. So I'll be giving The Beast Below a 6 out of 10. Yeah, I don't think this one's particularly amazing, but I think it's alright. It's okay for now. I think it's fine. I think it's alright. Could have been better. Could have been sorted out a lot more, but it's alright. It is the weakest episode of the new series since Fear Her, in my opinion, because I would take The Doctor's Daughter, which has the same score, above The Beast Below. Just. At least I think a few things are explained a bit better of that story, even though I'm not incredibly fond with it. I think it's okay, but like Beast Below, it's not perfect. It could have been better. So but I do prefer it to Beast Below just for the fact that it does make a bit more sense. And yeah, so this would be my least favorite episode of the series since Fear Her, and I'm actually someone who did like Fear Her. Well, yeah, I liked it. Just liked. Doesn't mean it's that great. I mean, I thought it was alright. Not the worst thing ever made, but not the best thing ever made either. So I thought it was alright. But yeah, that was my least favourite. That is my least favourite story of the new series so far. Although there will be worse stories to come, most of them from the Steven Moffat era. So Yeah, but at the moment, The Beast Below is the weakest story since that one, but that's still the weakest of the new series. Anyway, the episode ends with Doctor and Amy getting a phone call from Winston Churchill, played by Ian McNeice, who I'll talk a bit more next time as he's in the next episode, calling the Doctor to come and be an advisor to something that may be potentially dangerous. And goosebumps here, but in the shadow, a familiar foe makes a sort of shadowy cameo at the end of this episode in order to tie things over to the next episode, and I'm already getting the goosebumps now. That being said, said foe was only in, what this is, 1, 2, end times 3, 4, 7 stories before the next story. These foes were only in the 7 stories beforehand, 6 before this one. So it does seem a bit, even though they'd be out of, apart from the cameo in The Wolves of Mars, they'd be they'd be off the screens for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. Still only 7 stories, so they might have wanted to have waited to keep these ones a little bit longer. I don't know. But next time, the Doctor and Amy will be travelling to 1941 London, the Cabinet War Rooms to be precise, and meeting Winston Churchill and his Ironsides, who are actually Daleks. I'll see you guys next time for Victory of the Daleks, the 3rd episode of Series 5. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. 30, well, once we're at the end, we'll be 31 out of 38. So, yeah, and it depends if we... What was I? Sorry. And this is certainly the signs of the 11th Doctor getting angry. And this is probably the first time of the 11th Doctor gets, and Matt Smith certainly gets to get his chops into the role a bit more than he did. And how could Liz 10 not notice that her mask was 2.500? But how could she not realise the mask is getting really ill? But as far as these earlier ones are concerned, but I think this one does a not the worst thing ever made, but definitely nothing. But yeah. Anyway, next time we'll be